What is up, YouTube? Fire Fitness Brand back with another video, and today we're going to talk about one of the most controversial topics when it comes to fitness, and that's body weight versus weightlifting. We're going to talk about pros and cons of both, and we're going to compare them a little bit, and make sure to remain open-minded and optimistic, as you may find information I say beneficial, and that may cause you to want to implement some of these training styles. Let's dive right in. So body weight pro number one, and this is the most obvious, is that body weight is very convenient. It requires minimal equipment and you can do it just about anywhere. This is very convenient, especially for those individuals that do not have a gym membership or don't live near a gym or can't afford a gym. You can still do resistant training with body weight training, and it requires just your body at the minimum. Pro number two is that bodyweight training offers more functional training. This is great for your joint health and your muscle health. And this helps you stay functional, and it doesn't help you stiff up, because with bodyweight training, it requires multiple muscle groups working in unison at one time. And this leads us to pro number three for bodyweight training, which is that you can burn an excessively more amount of calories during bodyweight training than weight training. And that's because with bodyweight training, it requires full body movements, and this is going to burn more calories because your whole body is moving as a unit. The fourth pro of bodyweight training is that it's easy and clear to see strength and muscle development. An example of strength gains that's going to be easy to see in bodyweight is if you started with only being able to do 5 push-ups, and then now you're able to do 30 push-ups. That's a clear strength gain. You will be able to see muscle development easily through body weight, because harder body weight movements, or just body weight in general, requires people to have low percentage of body fat. Now we're going to get into the weightlifting pros. We just talked about the body weight pros, so this is going to be a little comparison of what's best of each. Pro number one of weightlifting, and this is probably the most obvious pro of weightlifting, is that you can do better muscle isolation. So with body weight, if you want to just train one muscle group, say like chest, it's going to be hard just to isolate only the chest. Or a better example is trying to isolate your arms with body weight. There's very limited movements you could do to isolate the bicep and tricep. But when it comes to weightlifting, there's a lot more isolation exercises that you have access to and you're able to do with weightlifting. The second pro of weightlifting is that it's easy to have gradual progression. What I mean by that is, it's easy to progress in weightlifting because you can go up 2.5 pounds or 5 pounds or 10 pounds. You can add small amounts of weight to still give you a gradual progression within the workouts. And this leads us to our third pro of weightlifting, and that's the ability to see easy strength gains. Because you can add minimal equipment gradually, it's going to be obvious and it's going to be so clear that your strength level has increased. One of the best pros of weightlifting, in my opinion, is this pro number 4, and that's easy injury prevention if you do not ego lift. Because you can train muscles in isolation groups, you can control the movement in a way that is better than body weight. Every time you lift, you should be controlling an amount of weight that you can handle pretty easily until failure. Now that we covered the best parts of body weight and weightlifting, now we're going to talk about the cons and the negatives of body weight and weightlifting and compare those. The biggest con of body weight training is that it is extremely dependent upon location and weather. So even though you're able to train inside your home to do body weight, you're going to be very limited to what you can do if you do not have a pull-up bar or dip bars at home, and you're going to need to buy that equipment then. If you're using access to free equipment such at the park, it's going to be hard to train depending on the location and the weather of where you live at. One of the biggest cons of bodyweight training is that it is very hard to progress at some certain points. What I mean by this is, if you started out bodyweight doing 5 dips, and now you can do 50 clean dips straight. It's going to be very hard to increase your rep count for dips. With bodyweight training, you can see drastic increase within the first few months of training. But after a year or to a year and a half of training, it's very hard to increase your rep count when it comes to body weight. This is where you're going to have to incorporate weighted body weight training, or you're going to have to start doing skill set training. The third downside to body weight training is that it requires a lot more education for body weight training compared to weightlifting training. And this is because most people do not know how to train properly for body weight. If you go to the gym and you're weightlifting, you can train by muscle groups easily because they're machines labeled for muscle groups. Typically, when you work out at a park, some parks have exercises or some equipment that says what muscle group it trained, but for the most part, that's not the case. You're gonna have to have more education and knowledge on what workouts to do to train specific muscle groups. One of the most important downsides that you should be aware of when it comes to bodyweight training is it's gonna be very hard to gain muscle within your legs. I'm talking quads, hamstrings, and calves. Your legs are the biggest muscle within your body. It's half of your body. So that's gonna require a lot more overload. And this is why I recommend doing weighted bodyweight training for legs or weightlifting for legs, such as walking or running or everyday activities. Your legs are used to carrying just your body weight. So it's hard to do a lot of overload training. And when you get into like 50 reps, that's gonna be good for muscle endurance, but it's gonna be really hard for muscle mass if you just train legs with body weight. The first con to weightlift training, the inability to switch up your workout routine. It is very easy to go to the gym and use the same equipment that you've been using. A lot of people do the same type of movements. For example, if they're training shoulders, they'll do just shoulder raises or shoulder press. And it could get very hard to come up with unique ideas to train those muscle groups, to shock those muscles for extra stimulation growth. The second downside to weightlift training is that it can increase muscle stiffness and decrease mobility, because weightlifting requires no function at all unless you're doing compound lifts. But most of the other equipment in the gym do not require any function or mobility. It's very stationary equipment. There's a lot of people who weightlift but cannot touch their toes for this reason. It's because they do not train for flexibility. And when you weightlift, you need to train for flexibility because you're gonna have a lot of muscle stiffness from the stationary exercises. The third con to weightlifting is a lack of burned calories. The only way you're really gonna burn calories when it comes to weightlifting is if you're doing compound movements. Other than that, you're not gonna burn nowhere near as much calories as you would doing bodyweight movements. And that's just due to the lack of function and stationary equipment that weightlifting offers. The last con with weightlifting, and probably the most popular, is that it can become boring very quickly, because training under a certain set and rep based for years could be very boring. If you just go to the gym and do 4 sets of every workout for 12 sets or whatever it is. So you have to make sure to incorporate more supersets and drop sets, and you really have to know how to switch up your training when it comes to weightlifting, because it can become boring very fast. So those are the basic and the most important pros and cons of bodyweight to weightlift training. Make sure to take the information that we talked about and make sure to apply it. And me personally, I recommend hybrid training, which is combining weightlifting with bodyweight. They both have pros, they both have cons, and you can get the best of both worlds just by combining the two. Make sure to be open-minded. Don't think one is better than the other, because that's not the case. They both have negatives and positives. So take the positives from both of them and combine them, and you're gonna be a beast. But check out the website. That's where this shirt is located. We have more products coming, and we have more products up on the website, firefitnessbrand.com. And make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Fire Fitness Brand. And we appreciate you taking the time out to watch this video. Much love and respect to you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Let's get it.